Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were going to go first. I thought you were going to go. And never, oh, God,
Girl.
I just saw the light doing this on wet foundation.
If you take anything away from this video.
Getting tight in.
How tight? I had to.
This? I think it was the day after you got this. I said, what is that?
He literally grabbed it out of my brush. He was like, what is this?
Yeah, I was like, this is amazing. I was like,
girl.
I'm going to buy this. Quick for foundation and concealer. Thank you. Taking
what if
this.
I
Yeah, just
yeah. Brushes.
Tools. And not these two right here.
No. Last week's video, we did the drugstore starter kit.
Yeah.
So many of you commented this idea all about brushes and how, like, what to use where. What a great, like, simple idea I never thought of, because we take for granted that, like, we know.
We see a brush set and we're good to go.
Girl, I can dissect it in 5 seconds, but that's such a smart idea. We basically picked 2 of our most affordable sets. Come on.
I'm here.
Yeah. And we're just gonna talk through doing our makeup, a normal routine, and what brush would be good for what. These are both from a brand called Jessup Beauty, and they're so great because they basically dupe high-end brush sets. Mine that I will be showcasing, this is the Jessup Affordable Luxury 14-piece brush set. This one dupes the Morphe Ariel brush set you probably see everybody use. All of Jessup actually is vegan and cruelty-free. This brush set is $38 for 14 brushes.
Wow. And so then mine is the 14-piece matte black set, and it says Elegant Black. And this dupes the Morphe, the Vegan Pro Series brushes. So you'll have like the unique shapes in these. And this retails for $38.64. So you really,
insane.
You can't beat $40 for a brush set.
I know.
And if you break it down,
I was just gonna do the math.
it's like $276 per brush.
Oh my God, look at you, you little Einstein. I didn't know you were smart.
It says it there.
Oh! Cheater. In both of these sets, they're technically as brushes you could use for foundation, but they're not
up to our standard.
Exactly,
yeah.
So we've also picked 2 affordable foundation brushes on their own.
So I always start with brows. So if I'm not using a brow pencil, but even so, I like to have a brow brush on me for a clean spoolie.
Absolutely.
So sometimes like today, I just did brow gel and then a brow pencil, but sometimes you like to clean it up. So I always love these.
In my set for brows, there is a really beautiful angled brush, and this one doesn't have the spoolie. So I do love that about that, depending on what you're using to fill your brows. And obviously, if you're using a brow pencil that has a spoolie on the end of it, you have it there. But let's say you are someone that likes to use a powder or a pomade, you are going to want a spoolie. So I do love that about that.
I do love that brush too, though, for like eyeshadow, like liner.
Yes.
I do like that because sometimes a brow brush is more stiff.
And that's the thing. You can see the difference with the cream set. It's a little wider. Actually, this is literally what I use to do my eyeliner, and I use the new Trixie liner. So there's pros and cons to both, but these are your angled brushes. And then next, I would say priming the lid, like getting ready for eyeshadow.
Yeah, cleaning up your brows.
Yes.
We both actually have a double-ended brush.
Yes.
I'm going to call it the rainbow side, the more arch side. And it's a little bit flatter, more of a concealer brush is great. And then on the other side, I have like a small detailing eyeshadow brush. Which
This one is clearly a synthetic, which a lot of synthetics are going to be better for liquids because it doesn't absorb the liquid. So these are what you would use to carve out your brows and put your eyeshadow primer on. Then the other sides, I have to say between the two, I give it to this one.
Same.
Because the Ariel Morphe one, when he came out with this one that this is duping, this brush is unbelievable.
I love it to carve the brows.
Oh, girl, like this one to carve the brows. And then I love the straight side of this because, again, you could do super good detail work, or even I use powder to like carve, like, it's just, this one is amazing. But yes, with this one, you have that same synthetic.
Precise,
Yes, and then this is a natural hair. So this I would use for like smoking out detail work.
So the next one kind of goes hand in hand with the brow brush. It's almost a little bit pinched. So when you turn it, it comes up to like a mountain peak, if you will. And I love this because it really, like, I pull down the concealer with it and I pat this all over the eye.
Yes.
And this really just like, you can hug that line of the brows and pull that concealer. And even for like the under eye concealer, like this fits perfectly in like the pocket of the eye.
Yeah, which I will say there's no equivalent in this set, which is why I made sure in my foundation brush recommendation, it's a dual-ended and it comes with a concealer brush because you're not getting that kind of a thing. So we definitely also pick the foundation brushes we picked with these sets on purpose. So keep that in mind. I'm just gonna actually grab all of the eyeshadow brushes. Okay, so now when you're breaking down brushes, you pretty much wanna think of it in 3 sections of like general big fluffy deposit, but with a purpose, let's say packing shimmer or blending out an edge, and then super fine detail brushes. So let's start with the fluffy brushes, which you would use to either set that primer, concealer, or put your first eyeshadow on. Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were going to go first. I thought you were
ahead.
going to go. There's 2 in here that I'm like, the more of like fluffy domed rounded blending brush. And then there's almost like a 217 equivalent from MAC, where it's that blending brush. If you almost like took this first brush and pinched it, the ferrule of the brush, like if you like pinch that, you get this more like flat brush. And then, so that I love even too, just to kind of like under the brow, since it does have like that flat edge more. Pat down your brow color and then blend with the other one.
Yes. Now this set has 2 round fluffy brushes. One comes to more of a point, and then this one is more flat. So for me, this kind of a brush that has that domed edge, this is always going to be the brush I start with. So I would dip into the transition shade, and even with this eye look I have on today, I use bronzer in my crease. So I would dip in, tap off the excess, and this is the kind of brush I start just by shoving right in my crease, circular motions, and blending out, because a big fluffy brush, this is going to give you a very diffused look. And what I like about having 2 round brushes in this one is this one, I would never touch an eyeshadow pan. I would always leave this one clean, because when I deposit a color, let's say the edge isn't as blended as I want, the more I keep trying to blend with something that I dipped into, it's gonna keep putting color on the eye. I would say, okay, I have enough, I'm gonna stop, and now I'm gonna use the super clean one to soften the edge of that. Then moving on to the one Kevin had, which was the pinched. This one comes with a fluffy brush as well, and you can see the difference how this is pinched here. You can use this for transition, but it's not gonna blow it out and blend it as seamlessly as the fluffies. This one, let's say I wanted to add a little bit of darkness up here. This is gonna give you much more control in tighter specific areas than a big round fluffy brush. Now with this set, you're kind of getting 3 brushes, where in that one you have just 1 fluffy and 1 pinched.
Yeah, this is like I call it my traditional, this is like traditional eyeshadow brush, like what you think of when you think of eyeshadow. So this I love, again, packing color down on your lid, so you're really gonna pack that through. I've even used these brushes too to like even stamp down something in my crease before and then blend. So this is a brush if you really need to pack color in, or pack a glitter, pack a real shimmer into like the lid or anything, that's what I would use this for.
This is literally, this one is what I use to put on the silver, because you can see it has that cleaner top. It's going to give me that nice carve, where this one would be too fluffy and the glitter would be going everywhere. And also another benefit of brushes like this one, because it's still a natural hair brush, it's great for powder. So nose contouring, like super detailed work like this, where you want to maybe carve out. And then this brush also has one that it is basically this, but imagine it's just slightly thinner and it's cut off and it's a little more domed. Do you have one like this?
I don't.
Okay, so something like this, let's say I put my liner on with a pencil and I kind of just do it barbarically because I know I'm going to smoke it out. This would be great for smoking out the liner or packing on eyeshadow underneath the eye in a more blown out way, like your first one under the eye. So this is its baby sister, but for even more detailed work.
And then we have our detailing brushes. So typically you get 2 of these like domed brushes, which I love these, how like Johnny was saying that you take that brush and like you could smoke out your under eye with this. You use this on your lip in the Pat McGrath video to like...
I love.
Oh, yeah.
I wish there is no equivalent in this. And you know what else I love that for? Is my shimmer on the inside corner. That boot girl. This is elite. Yeah.
Yeah, like again, like inner corner shimmer is really packing it in and like getting tight in. I've even used this to like, if I want to smooth it.
I had to.
Snap it off. I've even taken this in the waterline. Like if I need to move a gel around and I put it here and I want it to smoke it out, I'll like literally drag a brush like this. I would say with anything domed like this, I do love it for underneath the eye and like really getting tight in there. Now,
you could use the one I just talked about before. That would almost do the same thing as, and even this one with mine now. So there's 2 very detailed brushes in this set. And this is the one I just talked about where I said you could smoke out the liner and do the under eye. If I was doing anything on the under eye, first I do my bronzer under the eye, then I do the black, opposed to just black. And something that's fluffier like this one is what I would use for my bronzer, because it's going to give me a little more diffusion or smoking out the eyeliner on my top lid, where this one is going to be for the black. This is what is going to put that black underneath, super detailed. So this is my under eye brush. Same thing. You could use this on the waterline. You could even dip into a gel and do your tight line with something like this.
Our last two, like I'm going to call these two like the small detailing brushes.
Yeah.
So mine is more like squared off, almost like a liner brush. So again, something I like this because it's more multi-purpose, and I feel like any of these are really multi-purpose if you think about it. So this is the one I used in the Pat McGrath video to really sculpt out my lip line. So you can get really cut sharp lines with like a brush like this, and even use this tight lining in the eye. Again, like Johnny just said with the other one, you could take this with the gel liner, tight line up top, on the bottom, smoke something out on like the bottom too, like to place your liner, or use it on the lip.
Yeah. Now this.
I
brushes like this
love this
turn
brush.
me on.
Yeah.
Because it just allows you to be so much safer when it comes to dark colors. You don't want your dark shadow to get crazy. You put that black, you smoke that out, you can bring it in all in here and do your outer V. It's just gonna be so much safer. I never use a big brush with dark colors. I always would rather go in with something that's super detailed, or let's say I am okay putting on my darkness with a different brush I have. I'll have a clean one like this, and I'll really use this to super detailed soften edges and blend out edges. Brushes like these are just invaluable when it comes to the cleanness of your makeup.
I have to start using that one more so I don't get out of control with my makeup like it has on this channel before.
Yes. Okay, now for complexion. Primer. I put on with my hands. I have 5 complexion brushes.
I'm going to say technically I have I have 5 as well, including the concealer brush that we had from before.
These are going to take a back seat for a moment because we both go in with foundation. So the foundation brushes we're going to recommend. This is the e.l.f. dual-ended foundation brush. It is dense. It's not too long. You can buff, but you could also use it like a paddle brush. Now this is where you have your concealer brush. You can carve out the tops of my brows. You can put your concealer on. And what I love sometimes is I will put the concealer on with this one, but then that outside border of my concealer, I can flip, and there actually maybe will be a scotch of the foundation left on the brush. I'll make sure there's nothing intentionally on it. Go in and it just marries everything together. So this one, even for blending out the stuff on the lid, your concealer or your eyeshadow primer, it dupes a much more expensive IT Cosmetics version, and I want to say this one is $8.
And this is mine. This has been one of my favorites since it came out. This is the Ulta Beauty number 12, actually duped the 47 from Sephora collection. The Sephora one is 30, and this one is 18.
Being on the Ulta Beauty collective, I know the Ulta Beauty team. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this. It's our little secret. Ulta Beauty Collection makeup is going through a whole kind of revamp this year to compete with Sephora Collection. I don't know if it's because maybe they're just gonna repackage them. I'm almost positive these brushes aren't going anywhere because they are so good. They might be kind of slowly getting rid of the older stock before they bring back the new, which they might just make it a black handle or whatever the hell they're gonna do. All of the Ulta Beauty brushes are 50% off. So this is normally $16. Right now, this is $9.60. So
at time of filming, this is $9.60.
And we're literally filming the day before this is going live. So it should still be, it's going up tomorrow. It's still going to be on sale.
What I love about this brush, I love pulling down foundation with this. And this kind of brush, I don't always recommend this, but if you're in a pinch and you need something a little bit quick for foundation and concealer, thank you.
You're welcome.
I love taking this. This is something I don't always recommend, but I will say if I'm in like a rush, I'll put my concealer on, take my foundation, pop this all over while my concealer is still wet, almost setting gently. I'll take off any excess with that foundation. Like Johnny was saying before, if there's a little bit of foundation here, blend up my concealer with this if I'm in a pinch. So if I don't want to use a small concealer brush, take this and blend out my concealer. I'll literally pop this in the pocket of my eye. This is how I first started using this as a concealer brush.
You turned me on to that like 6 years ago, and it's like my favorite brush.
It is by far. I have the Sephora and the Ulta version. I will say the Sephora one they changed and now went back to a version like this of like the density, because it's almost like that flat paddle brush that when you push it on the eye, it really hugs the underneath of the eye where you can really stamp that in. This is by far one of the best brushes for foundation and concealer.
Oh, girl. And it's something also about the ergonomicness of this that it just hugs hugs everything.
Yeah.
And a big thing too, I think, and you can elaborate on this, is I'm not a big proponent when you see like big monstrous foundation brushes that people are buffing, because when you're buffing on a foundation super aggressively, you're aggravating texture, meaning that your skin could be prepped, whatever, but let's say there's dead skin that she ain't gonna wake up till the next day. You're waking her up because you're basically exfoliating your face going crazy. And all of the phallus hair, which is the super fine baby hair we all have on the face, all of that is going down. So when you're putting stuff on and you're buffing, your obviously motions are going up. That's what I mean by aggravating that texture, which is why I feel I always put foundation on in downward motions, because you're going with the hair, you're going with the texture of the dry skin, and it just ends up making it look smoother. Not only that, I also want a brush that is dense and flat enough, almost gives beauty blender vibes, because let's say I do have a patch of dry skin between my eyes, you can stipple, which means instead of swiping, you're just doing this. You're stippling on. So if I have an area of dry skin and I start going like this with it, I'm pushing that dry skin down, which is going to hide it better and not aggravate it as much.
And not doing traditional stippling brushes too.
Yes.
So we're like this, we're saying stippling is the motion of stippling brushes, which are these.
Yes.
We're not doing the same thing. So again, like Johnny said, this is like a beauty blender where we're pressing it in, like the press and roll technique with powder that we've talked about. That is pushing down products so you're not aggravating texture.
Those are our foundation recommendations. Now back to our complexion set. I would say in both of our sets, this one is what they intend to be the foundation brush.
And this one as well. This like...
But this for me, it's slightly too loose for foundation. I have such a better use for this.
So I would not use this as foundation for the same reason as you. And I have actually the better usage is the same usage as yours.
Exactly.
Because I already know you and I use this one for the same thing. So this, again, too dense. And if I go to use this, again, striping motion's fine.
That's almost the opposite. Mine is too loose and yours is too dense.
But both will do more harm than good because then if I go to stipple with this, it's almost too dense where it's like you're just punching on foundation.
It's like using a dry beauty blender.
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
And people do that. No shame.
Yeah.
No shame. But
sometimes it works.
You gotta wet it. But I do love it because this one, again, the give that this has, where this bends with the face, where like something like this, I actually love for like cream bronzer. And I love the double end of this because one side you can do with the cream bronzer, and if you need to flip it over to the clean side, cream blush.
Exactly. And that's the exact same use I use this for. This is what I use today with my, I love my Trixie sticks, my cream bronzer. I put it on my hand. You've seen us on this channel a million times putting it in. And this is what I will stipple all my creams on with. With your foundation, you need the density to do your blending in a way where it's not going to be streaky. It's going to be more uniform. Where this can also handle creams or liquids, but because of that softness that this one has, it's going to feather the edges a little bit more, which with cream bronzer or cream blush, we want the edges of that blended and a little more soft. So that's where it's soft enough to put it in a specific area, but still leave you with that more diffused, softer edge.
Yeah, you taught me that trick and I have not gone back since. Like I've done it like even today, I did it with my cream bronzer and my cream blush with that brush today, and something that diffused just looks incredible.
Yes.
So I love it.
Now we put on our foundation, concealer, our cream bronzer, and blush. Now we are going to set the concealer and set the foundation. In this set, I would use this bad boy. It is completely round. It has that nice teardrop pinch where this fits beautifully right under the eye to press in and set that concealer. Pretty self-explanatory.
And I would use this one. This excites me.
The whole set. Okay. Yes, I got sent this brush set and I almost called you. I was like, there is this brush in this brush set that I had never seen before, and we both were crab rangooning.
So it goes up the back very flat. And then again, it's actually the similar vibe of the foundation brush from the Ulta collection. So you can see they both have that slant, but it goes up super long and has that plush. And this is where the texture of the brush matters because anything under the eye, you want it to be super, super soft. Picking up enough of that powder tapping off and going underneath your eye.
Yes, girl.
When I saw this brush, I literally said to you, I think it was the day after you got this, I said, what is that?
He literally grabbed it out of my brush. He was like, what is this? So
I was like, this is amazing. I was like, girl, I'm going to buy this.
I know.
I would pay, like, this whole set is $38. I would pay $38 for this brush.
Preach. Look how beautifully that hugs. It's that same ergonomicness where it's getting in. And with powder brushes like this, you also, not only is it the softness, but it's the density. You want to make sure that on its own, when you're looking at it, it almost has that uniformity and flatness where there's not a lot of gaps if it's too, like the stippling brush, where it's too, because let's say I dip into my powder, do you see how even of a coat that has? It's all one color. I would tap off the excess, still one color. If all the length of the brush hairs are not the same, you're gonna get an uneven distribution of your powder. So in this case, you know you're getting the same amount of powder everywhere you're putting your powder. So this is, that's what I mean. This set is worth it for this brush alone.
Yeah, and because those bristles move like wheatgrass.
Wheatgrass, yes. So now setting, yes.
This is Jagunda powder brush. Usually I do not like brushes like this, but I do prefer, if it's gonna be big, I don't like a bulbous brush that's like those big domed brushes. Like Sephora used to have the 80 that was like, do you remember the, oh my God, back in the day, the Sephora brush in number 91?
Oh, girl.
It's right here.
Yeah. Girl.
Look at this. It's a little smaller, but what I love about this, it is slightly pinched. So I love a flat edge to pick up my powder like so, tap off, like almost like shake off, and then press and roll this into the skin. To set my foundation, this is amazing just to really pat this all the way through and go down the neck.
Yeah.
So it has it can cover surface area where something as big as this, when it's so, there's no edge to it, so you're picking up powder like this.
Yeah.
I can't like and never oh God, girl. I just saw the light because I see people all the time with powders doing this.
Girl.
On wet foundation.
If you take anything away from this video, once the liquids are on, anything you do after should be this. Never swipe. We just spent all that time putting on that liquid, getting that liquid on, getting her flawless, getting her blended. I ain't taking a foundation brush. I ain't jackhammering the foundation here. We got it all done. So now this is the powder brush for this one. And I will say I do like this one better than the other set because it's that a little bit smaller. So see, I'm just kind of making sure it's even on all sides, tapping off that excess. You're gonna set that foundation, press. Always press. And I love this one too because this one is a little bit more dual purpose for me. All of these brushes as well, they don't hold on to powder products that much. One day I will use this for my powder. I can then use this for bronzer if I'm not worried about it being super controlled and fine. Do it down the neck. I think I literally did that before this video. And the next day, all of that bronzer, 99% of that bronzer will be off this brush that I can use it the next day as setting, and there will be no bronzer on it. So this is a really good dual purpose brush for that reason. Is that the only one you have left? Wow, so there really isn't a lot of powder brushes in that black set.
It's more eye brushes, so this is... Okay. I'll use this for like powder blush.
You know what I
so you gotta be careful.
Love that for?
What?
Powder foundation.
Oh.
Girl.
Oh, yeah.
When I'm going in with powder foundation and I want it to be, because you can literally see the way this picks up. Look at that. Tap off your excess, get your even coat. This is putting this powder where you place it. I like to be a little bit more precise with my powder foundation. I don't dust powder foundation all over my face with a big brush.
You're not doing much.
No, exactly. I'm being much more intentional with my powder foundation. Yep. So this one just packs her on. The remaining ones in my set, let's get this over with, disgusting. I hate this. They want you to use this for highlighter. For highlighter? Girl, you're getting highlighter everywhere. Now, this is the one I said would be a great under eye setting powder brush. The only downside is these are your 3 powder finishing brushes. So we have this for translucent powder, we have this for setting your concealer with the powder, and then it's like, okay, now I have one brush for bronzer, contour, or blush. So that's where I was saying you can really use these ones for multiple reasons, where I would use this to maybe set my concealer with translucent powder, dust it off, and then I would use this for my bronzer and contour because it's more, that roundness is a little bit more precise, where it's going to put that bronzer and contour where you want it to be. And now this is actually a brush that is not in the Ariel set. The Ariel set only has
It's this.
It's this. This is what it's duping. And I have to say, when I got the Jessup dupe, I like the Jessup better because this one being a little stubbier, it's very nice. But this one, when I tell you, for blush,
so good.
Girl swipes this blush on like a dream. So this is my blush brush. And then other than that, I would say little shout outs for maybe beauty sponges. I'll link down below if you're a beauty sponge person. There is a great beauty sponge from e.l.f., the e.l.f. Camo one that is much thinner. That is great for blending out concealer. We'll also link velour puffs if that's your gig. Velour puffs are really great. I would say more if you have oily skin, if you really want to blur texture. So sometimes I'll just do a light veil of translucent powders and then I'll go in with the velour puff, and pressing this on top of pores will really blur and kind of fine-tune things. Give or take, it's so hard to pick a favorite set because there really are things
about both. And I would even say too, let's say you want all these brushes and you're really starting out. If you like the best of both worlds, you're gonna spend about less than $80 on both of these.
Yes, you will never need another brush.
$80, and if you walked into Sephora, each brush, face brushes are $30.
Oh my
so
God.
You're gonna pick up 3 and spend $90.
Yes.
The fact that you can get collectively 30 brushes, if you think about that value, is insane. So run to Jessup. But if I were to pick one, I think it would have to be this.
I agree.
If I had these brushes only going to like do a wedding or do a gig and do my own face and do whatever, I can make this set work more than
I agree.
This set, only because there are brushes like this under eye powder brush. I love this equivalent of making this one work because then I know I can clean it off and then do bronzer and then do blush and then do more with this than I can this.
Yes, I am going to link both sets in the description box down below and the brushes that each set is missing, quote unquote. I will find individual Morphe brushes, which are incredible for single brushes. They're like $4 to $8 for one brush. And then I'm even gonna investigate Jessup's website to see if they have certain ones of these individually. And I will basically have this brush set with right underneath it, the missing ones from that the other one offers. I'll fill in the gaps with individual and vice versa. If you only want to get one set, then there'll be 3 or 4 brushes underneath the set you choose that give you what the other one gives you.
I love that.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's it. Let us know if you have any other questions regarding brushes or technique, etc. If you want a full-blown video of us doing our makeup with these, or just general questions that we can kind of maybe just address in our next video. So let's say goodbye. Wheatgrass. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. We have new videos every single week. Subscribe to our Beautiful and Bothered podcast. New episodes every single Sunday. Wherever you are, we hope you are happy, safe, and healthy. And remember,
you are beautiful.
Bye.
Bye.